and happy Wednesday. Welcome to the Pitch Side Chronicles. I'm Uncle Tess. I am here with Rob and Donald, and we're hearing a lot over the last 24 hours about the pitching, and that's something that we've been talking about extensively for the last couple of weeks. And it came out, I saw something where the Yankees are putting a serious look into a trade for Corbin Burnes. Then it came out that they're also, trying to figure out a contract for Josh Hader would be a fair deal. It's those are two guys that I'm not. Would I take them on our team? Yes, but it also depends on the price because pitching is expensive. Whether free agency or trade, these are going to sting. So I want to get what's going on, Jason. What's going on, Jonathan? Stephen B is in the chat. Chris Northrup, NFV on the strike zone. ABX. I'm just going to sum it up for you. We're just going to shorten that. Good morning, everybody. We'll start with Corbin Burnes. We'll start with the trade because we do have a surplus of infield prospects that really just don't have a spot right now. What would if you had to make that trade for Burnes, and he's also a rental, which does make it not as painful, but it is still going to sting. Who would you give up for a guy with that caliber?
Oh boy. It all depends on what the Brewers are going to do because, I know they're going to eventually have to go through a rebuild, but that Central is still theirs for the taking if they want it. That division's so winnable. It's going to take a lot because he's one of the better pitchers in baseball. There's no question about it. You look at his track record. There's few guys that are just consistently as good as he is every year. So they're going to want a lot. They're going to want outfield bats. They're going to want infield bats. They're going to want some pitching. You might, if you don't have to give up Spencer Jones, which they might be asking for him. We've heard that in the rumors that they would like Spencer Jones. If the Yankees can keep him out of that trade because he's a rental, then I guess. But there it is. Trade DJ LeMahieu. You trade him for Robbie Ray, and then you flip Ray for Corbin Burnes.
Hey, there you go. Problem solved.
There it is. That's it. He's got the thing figured out. I don't know though. I really don't because I'm trying to think of if you leave Jones and Dominguez out of this, which the Yankees would try to. I don't know if you have enough to get him. It'd be Pereira, Peraza. That's Andujar and Frazier all over again. And then you're looking at the pitching guys that we can't afford to give up right now. You can maybe afford to give up one of them of Beater, Warren, and Heel, but you also at the same time you kind of can't because our depth has taken such a hit. So I would love Corbin Burnes if you can make it work. But I think Spencer Jones would have to be in that trade. And it's painful to say, but I don't know if the Brewers say yes to anything else.
Well, that's where it also gets tricky because we don't even know who on our depth charts they're even looking at. You're not even hearing, that's why it's so far away from it. I don't think it's a realistic piece of news, but it's something different. It's a different angle to look at. I don't think Spencer Jones is going to be on the market. I agree with Mello R, and welcome to the chat. If you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button. If you're enjoying the show, hit the like button as well. But I just don't see. I think Spencer Jones is going to be one of those untouchables, just like a couple years ago with Jason Dominguez. I don't see anybody else that's that impact prospect that would entice the Brewers to make that type of move. And like you said, Rob, especially in a very winnable Central. Donald, what do you think about it?
I think there's more realistic options. I was looking on MLB.com. They said that the best fit for Jordan Montgomery is the Yankees. So that's something to bear in mind. Also, The Athletic had an article where they're saying that the Yankees are also pursuing Shane Bieber as a possibility from the Guardians, and he would be significantly cheaper than Corbin Burnes. I don't think the Yankees have the pitching to match up with the Brewers to get Corbin Burnes. That's my biggest thing with this. We did give up some really good assets to acquire Juan Soto, and I think it would be smarter, in my opinion, to restock the pitching in our farm system before any major trades for pitchers. So I would look for cheaper. Now, Shane Bieber, the asking price, according to the Athletic, or certainly a match that could be made with the Guardians, was Pereira, and like a B pitching prospect to get Shane Bieber would be more affordable for the Yankees and probably a little bit more palatable after giving up significant assets to get Juan Soto. So I think Bieber. Now, am I wild about acquiring Bieber? No, because he's got a 3.80 ERA, and his velocity's been dropping each year. I'm not sure, but certainly it's something to get to. It's another angle to think about, as you're saying, Tats. As for Burnes, I mean, you have to be. They'd have to be looking at just on Dominguez, Spencer Jones, one of those two guys, and I don't think any of them should be available if I were the Yankees. So, Mr. Siegel here, Bieber a more attainable option. And he's been working at driveline to increase his velocity. That's a good point. Thank you for that comment. So that is probably a little bit more palatable. I could see that being something the Yankees pursue, probably Bieber. And I'd be reasonably happy with that.
Yeah, I think the reason that I'm not in on, I'm not getting all hyped up on Corbin Burnes is it's another expensive rental. We already made that move with Soto, and we're gonna need to save some ammunition for the trade deadline. I'm not depleting my whole farm system in one off season. I don't think the Yankees at this point, with the way that the roster is, I don't see it as a point of desperation right now. We don't need to just start making moves. It almost feels like it would be a panic move or a rush decision. It might be a better way to look at it. I don't want them to rush just to appease the fans that they're doing something. We talked about at the end of the show the other day, we need to start really emphasizing the patient aspect of the offseason. It takes time for things to develop. It's not like where it's a trade deadline where things just happen at a faster pace. There's still another month before, you still have like a month and a half before pitchers and catchers report. At that point, yes, so they have a month to get this rotation set to further strengthen the bullpen. They don't have to make a move right away as much as we want them to. I think that they need to still, I'm going back to this until it's a dead issue because there's nothing to move for. I'm still saying stay on the phone with Miami. That is the best fit. Mello put in the comment earlier, that they need to look for teams that need infielders. That's the Marlins. And the Marlins have the surplus of pitching. It's the perfect matchup.
Yeah, but at the same time, if you wait for the deadline, that's the same problem we had last year. They waited. Yeah. And look what happened. Look who we had to use in left field because we waited. So I don't think that's going to be the case. It's just I don't think we're going to get Burnes. Look, I'm saying though, if they were to go after him, it's not going to be one of those baseball trade machine trades where hey, the value matches up if you give them 6 players. It's not going to be the case. You're going to have to give up. I'm shocked. I really thought we were going to give up Jones for Soto. I'm glad we didn't, but the Brewers are going to want one of those two, and we know Dominguez ain't going anywhere. Jones, to me, if you move him, you got to move him for the right player. Is Corbin Burnes a rental? Yes, but does Corbin Burnes help you win a championship this year over Spencer Jones? He does. So like we were talking about this the other night, if it was a 1-for-1, I actually would pull the trigger on that deal. But considering it's going to be like a 4-for-1, I don't think it happens. So Bieber is fine, but you have the injury issue from last year. Do you want to add another injured player to this rotation that already has two guys that are coming off of injuries? Cortez was hurt. Rodon was hurt. That's why I've been saying his name for the past few weeks. I'll continue to say his name. That's Edward Cabrera. He might be the most realistic option. It's not you have what it takes to get him, and you can still build that quote unquote super bullpen that they were talking about. Because we've been hearing about the super bullpen since November. Before Yamamoto got posted, we were hearing about this thing. So that might be the route they go if they don't want to pay 27 or more for Montgomery. I think ultimately, if they get any starting pitcher from free agency, it'd be Montgomery, and that's really the only guy they'd go after. Because everybody else, I'd like Snell, but I just don't see him coming to the East Coast.
No, West Coast.
Yeah, I think he's a West Coast guy. So it's Montgomery, and then the rest is kind of like 1 year prove it guys, and you see what they're getting. I mean, I don't know if you're going to pay $16 million to someone like. And we know Stroman wouldn't be a good fit here because of everything he's gone through with the fans on Twitter. So I don't think that's happening. Your best option is to trade for, and Cashman loves trading for guys with years of control. Cabrera fits that bill. We have what the Marlins need, but I think they need to act soon because Baltimore needs pitching. Baltimore also has infield prospects. They match up well with the Marlins. A lot of teams have what the Marlins need. Yankees got to strike quickly. And then even if they get one starter, and they build that super bullpen, you're shortening the game. That might be the route they go because we've been hearing about that for months now, that if they don't get Yamamoto, they might pivot to the super bullpen. Well, it's starting to become a little bit of a reality. That's the route they're going to take. The fact they've been linked to Hicks.
Another one to consider here because it's almost at the deadline of the posting. So he'll have to make a decision fairly soon. I haven't heard which teams are in on Imanaga. Have you guys got an idea as to where he could end up, or are the Yankees going to be in the mix for him?
I think he's a Met.
Yeah.
Or he could be a West Coast guy too. He could go to Seattle, San Francisco.
San Francisco. I was just going to say the Giants. I think are going to make him. I think it's going to be between the Giants and the Mets. I think those are going to be the two big players for him. I don't think the Yankees are because we would have. There's not enough circulation of his name in the Yankee community, as far as with the beat writers and shit like that. So I don't see it. We've been, you never know, and that's the mystery of the offseason. Anything can happen at any given time. It's now. I think it's going to be the Giants and the Mets. I think the Yankees are looking outside the box a little bit. I think that not that they're I don't want to say scared or intimidated. I think they're just done being played by the Japanese players lately. I think they're going to step away from that.
I don't think that would be too much of an issue. They did nothing wrong with Yamamoto. We talked about this. They went all out and they treated him very well. They gave the dude a jersey and he wasn't even signed with them. They said, "Hey, it's yours to keep if you want it." They gave that guy the golden carpet to try to come to New York, but he never wanted to. He wanted LA, and that's fine. Look, we got to move on from that. Nobody else really turned us down. Ohtani never really wanted to come to the East Coast, and that's fine too. It was just their preference. So, if they want Imanaga, and he might want to come here. Maybe he does. Look, he's a little bit older. He's not like he needs to have he's not going to be the ace. Nowhere in baseball is going to have him as the ace. There's no team in baseball that's going to use him as a number one. So he doesn't need the spotlight, but New York is a spotlight. And if that's the route they take, then so be it. We'll see though. I still think though that there are teams that would pay a little bit more for him. The Angels need pitching because they were trying to get Ohtani back. So they're obviously willing to spend. We've heard they were linked to Blake Snell. So, and I agree with that, Frank. I'm just saying we've heard the Yankees be linked to that super bullpen idea for months now, and it would not shock me one bit if they go with that route.
Yeah, no, it wouldn't shock me at all. I don't want it to happen, but I can see it happening. Boone loves the bullpen. He's obsessed with it. But we also did not have the pitching staff that can go deep into games, which is why getting 2 starting pitchers right now are the priority in my book. Until you get 2 more starters, I don't want any more additions to the bullpen. That's got to be. I want all their attention on that right now.
Maybe you get, yeah, but one game. I mean, we're not gonna. I think he's gonna be good here. I'm just worried about the fly ball rate in Yankee Stadium.
The fly ball rate, yeah.
I think he's gonna be good. I just don't, if he
On the
starts
flip
giving
side,
up,
he doesn't walk anybody. That's
yeah.
That's a great sign. I think he's got like an 8 or 9 to 1 strikeout to walk ratio. And he also has 5 more strikeouts than Yamamoto had last year in the Japanese league. So you also have to weigh that up as well. So, a sub-3 ERA with more strikeouts than Yamamoto. He's also pitched no-hitters in the past in the Japanese league. Like, this guy is legit. So he is an option. He really is an option. He doesn't have elite stuff, but he does have a swing and miss splitter that could translate. So you have to consider him as well, man. I think that he seems like a healthier option than say a Bieber. I'm worried about Bieber's age, declining velocity, and injuries. I'm a little worried about those things. That's why if I was to spend money, it would be in Jordan Montgomery, and the fallback would be Imanaga. But Imanaga would need to be paired with a major bullpen move. So, there's a flip side. So obviously, yeah, there's the home run issue, which I do think would double in the majors. But then, he does have a ton of strikeouts and he doesn't walk people. So that means that he's got good command of his pitches. And if he can keep command of his pitches, there's a better chance of keeping his pitches in the ballpark.
Yeah, I think Matt Blake could do a lot with Imagawa. I do think so. I don't think I'll ever pronounce that name right. I did it once.
You combined 2 names.
When have you ever hit it once right?
When I talked very slow.
You just called him Imagawa.
Whatever. You know who I'm talking about.
It's an improvement on origami, which it was last week. So.
That was funny.
You put the hex on him. Now the poor guy is going to be linked to Keigawa for the rest of his career.
Yeah, Umaga, right? And I think, but I think that there's other options. The last thing the last thing you want at Yankee Stadium is a fly ball pitcher that you have to fix. I don't think that'll work. If I'm gonna get somebody and try to make them more of a Yankee Stadium pitcher, I would take my chances with Dylan Cease, because I think he's another pitcher that's real. I think a change of scenery for him. I think he would do just fine. I think he would do very well with this pitching staff. He'll be able to make the adjustments. But I don't know what the White Sox would look for. I don't know what their need. We don't know what their needs are, what their priority is. It's good, and it's going to be expensive. I know that, but
they definitely want
still have some
Jones.
control.
Because they were asking for Jackson Holiday from the Orioles, so if you can only imagine what they want from the Yankees.
Oh, they're looking like high on Cease.
Because he's got 2 years.
Put him on the back burner.
Yeah, they're valuing him at what he was 2 years ago, which was a damn good pitcher, Cy Young candidate kind of pitcher. So they don't have to trade him either. Although the White Sox stink, so they should trade him. But they also have 2 years, so they can wait till if he has a really good season this year, next year as a rental or at the deadline, get a year and a half of him for a playoff push, and they might get more. So they have all the means to wait. So do the Brewers. So does Cleveland. All those teams can just wait because if Bieber has a good first half, his value goes up. If Burnes already has a high value, if he has a good first half, guess what? Now you got to pay more for him. So those kind of pitchers, their values can either go up or down, but those teams can all wait. That's why I don't think the Yankees go after any of them. If they did, it would be Bieber because he'd be the cheapest cost. That's why they're going to go. I think they got to call Miami, see what it takes to get Cabrera, and then maybe you still bring in Hader. I feel like that's going to happen at this point. I don't know. I got this feeling that he's going to be coming to the Yankees. I'm not 100% in on it. I don't think that 4-out thing's going to be an issue here. I doubt he's going to go into negotiations and say, not only do I want 18 million or more, but I ain't pitching for 4 outs. No one's going to sign him. So I highly doubt that's going to happen. I do think, and I think Chris just put it in the chat, like he'd be a different person if he came here, and I think that'd be the case. I don't think he's a grade A asshole like people are making him out to be. That 4-out save thing may have been blown out of proportion a little bit, but I'm not saying the Yankees have to go get him. He's not my preference, but again, outside of Montgomery and Imanaga, what are the realistic starting pitching options that are going to be like taking us to a better level? Because there really aren't that many out there. And that's why they want.
Yeah, well, Anafi and I talked to Jabba, and Jabba doesn't think the Hader could fit in New York. He says he thinks that New York's going to eat him up. So that's something to consider as well. But personally, I would go for Hader. That's just my personal opinion. I know I'm in the minority, but he's got elite stuff. Hicks is a really good option brought up by Mello here. Hicks makes more sense than Hader. Hicks throws 100 mile an hour, and he had a breakout year last year. So I would definitely look at Hicks. One of those two. We definitely need to add a closer. Definitely 100%, no questions asked. Has to happen. Hicks probably is the more palatable option, I think, for Yankee fans. But I don't want to compare what happened in San Diego with New York because you don't know what happened behind the scenes. He might have been protecting himself. Maybe he was like, you know what? I'm going into free agency. This thing is a losing effort. We aren't going anywhere. They're going to end up having to trade Juan Soto in the offseason. Like this thing is starting to go off the rails. Do I want to blow my arm out in free agency? No, right? That's just me coming up with that at the top of my head. But we don't know, right? So I don't want to paint him in the box that he is a malcontent and a problem because it's a different situation. You don't know what happened over in San Diego, right? You don't know what his relationship was with the pitching coach or whether, you know what I just come up with there makes a whole lot of sense. Maybe he just didn't want to blow his arm out in free agency. You know what I mean? In a losing effort. So, I mean, and it's the same with my disagreeing with painting Verdugo as a malcontent because he obviously acted up a little bit in the last year in Boston. Well, things were a mess over in Boston. An absolute mess over in Boston. And you're looking at this offseason, and they're continuing to try and shed payroll. So they're a mess, Boston, right? So again, I don't want to paint people as malcontents without seeing them in another situation here in New York. So I'm just adding another side to this because maybe Hader is nowhere near as bad as what Yankee fans are painting him because they've heard in the news that he caused a stink about a 4-out save. You know what I mean? We weren't there. We weren't there, guys. So let's give this guy a chance. I don't think he would act up anywhere else. So that's just my 2 cents on that. Does he have the personality for New York? That's the bigger issue. I really don't give a fuck that he didn't want to make it 4-out safe in San Diego. It's not my issue. But does he have the personality for New York? Because New York is a different beast, right? That's just a fact. So that's a relevant question. Probably Hicks is probably a little bit more A, affordable, B, you can probably trust that you'd probably fit in New York okay. So I understand that, but I really don't give a fuck. They didn't want to make it 4-out save. San Diego. It's me.
Well, Jason brought up Robert Stevenson as well. That's a really good name. I think look, here's a scenario. Let's say they trade for, I'm going to just use the guy I've been talking about. Let's say they trade for Cabrera. And then because he costs you nothing financially, what if they sign Hader and Hicks? Because that's a super bullpen, right? What is a super bullpen? Put that word super in quotes. It's not just signing Josh Hader. That's getting like two really good relief pitchers. Hader would be your closer. Hicks is your 8th inning guy. Holmes, because comes your 7th inning guy. You still have, you can even flip Canely. I think the Marlins would take him because they need relief pitching as well. You'd still have Hamilton. You just got Gonzalez from the Dodgers. De Los Santos was picked up on a minor league deal. He's an option. They have a lot of options in the bullpen, but that's a super bullpen. If you shorten the game, now, you run the risk of that thing being burnt out because you don't have guys that can go deep into the game. But Cole, a healthy Rodon, and Cabrera are guys that can give you length, and you just got to pray that Schmidt is able to throw more innings. That's the risk you run, though, by going super bullpen. But that might be the route they take because the options for the starting pitchers right now are so limited. Outside of Montgomery and Imanaga, because I just don't see Snell coming here, who else? Who else is out there? I don't think they're paying the I would love Garrett Crochet. I've been talking about getting him and Cease for a while. But that price would be exorbitant right now. So Jason, if let's say they get 2 starting pitchers that are on the cheap and you move Cortez to the bullpen, that helps too for long relief. But Hamilton's a guy that can throw multiple innings. We saw it last year. He might become that new Michael King. That guy can give you 2-3 innings out of the bullpen. They have so many bullpen options as well. I don't know what they're going to do. And that's kind of the thing is when we have no idea what's happening, that's when Cashman kind of strikes out of nowhere. That's why they call him the ninja sometimes, like Ninja Cash. So what if they're working on an extension for Soto for all we know? We have no idea what's going on. We've been so in the dark since Yamamoto signed. Something is happening. I don't know when, but I think they got to be working on something. They can't just be standing.
I'm glad I've not heard anything. I really am, because Cashman actually does his best work when we don't hear anything. Because it's smart business. Once it starts leaking to the media, and then it becomes a bigger thing, and then other teams might jump in. It's much better doing things behind the scenes, and I do trust that he's doing that. So I like that I've not heard anything. There's too many teams that are public about what they do, like on a minute-to-minute basis in trades, and it almost always goes wrong. So it's much better. It's much better that we don't hear anything.
It's Stevenson's interesting. We haven't brought up that name yet. I think that really needs some consideration as well. But it's also, Joan puts in the comment, Boone has to push the starting pitching, which is why, it doesn't matter what you do to address the bullpen. If Boone's going to manage the bullpen the way that he has the last couple of years, they're going to be burned out by September anyway. We need starting pitching that can eat innings. Which goes against why I wanted, and I know I said that I was, starting to, look at Sell a little closer, but with the innings, he can't be an option. As much as, you want to have a 2-time, another Cy Young winner along with Cole. It defeats the purpose of getting, strengthening the rotation if you got to just use your bullpen. The rotation is the important thing, not the bullpen. The bullpen's healthy right now. We might not have an everyday closer, but our bullpen can withstand, doing a carousel on the closer role.
Okay, let's change it up. Tats, give me your ideal pitching move, right? Ideal pitching moves, and then we'll move to Rob and myself. Ideal pitching moves, and then in the chat, fire it in.
I'm thinking you sign, like I said the other day, you sign Montgomery, you trade for Cabrera. Rob sold me on Cabrera. I want that done now. For Rob, I want that move done.
Okay, and what would you give up for Edward Cabrera?
Oh, I'd give up Pereira. You might have to give up. I give them Marinaccio for their bullpen.
It's a left field one.
You're gonna have to include another infielder. Maybe you have to give up Peraza. I don't want to do that. I would try to move Torres first. See if they're still interested in Torres.
It's starting to get expensive.
Well, no. If they're willing to take Torres, they got to give me something. It's not just they got to give us something else.
What about Arias?
Maybe you try to get Puck as well.
What about Arias and Pereira?
No, I'm not moving Arias.
So you prefer to move Peraza than Arias?
Because they're gonna screw up Peraza. I'm trying to save Peraza from the Yankees at this point. They're turning into another Florial. Turning into
remember that Cabrera has a +4 ERA, so there's no guarantees that he's gonna suit the American League. Do you want to give up like a proven talent like Peraza?
What? I don't know if that's my dad or LA Yankee King making that suggestion down there, but no. Hader's a free agent, and they're not trading LeMahieu, so I don't know. No, we're not talking about that. These LA Yankee King's taking over people's accounts now, but I'd give up Peraza. I would. I don't see them using him, and the Marlins need a shortstop now. They don't need one that's going to be ready in 2-3 years. So Peraza might have to go. You give a young shortstop with control for a young pitcher with control. Sometimes those deals work out. I said Marinaccio the other day, but if you're able to sign a relief pitcher, then you give him Canely, because Canely's a guy that can help the Marlins this year too, and you can clear some money for the Yankees. Peraza, Canely, and maybe one of the catchers might work out. So yeah, he's coming. We know he's coming. But yeah, I don't want to trade. I can't stress this enough. I don't want to trade Peraza. But until I see the Yankees show any indication that they trust the damn kid, I'm trading him to get something that can help us, because they haven't shown it. They have not. When have they once shown they trust him?
Facts.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
That's why I think they should move him, because Cabrera is a guy that's going to help you in the long run instead of using Peraza as a utility player. That's so stupid. A 23-year-old
what about like a
prospect?
If you're only going to get Cabrera, what about like Pereira and Narvaez?
They need a shortstop, though.
Yeah, but they're also looking for a catcher, so you might be able to save your shortstop.
They need a shortstop more than a catcher.
Okay.
They so badly need a shortstop, because right now, who are their options? Vidal Brujan and John Birdie. Like, they need a shortstop. That's why I said the Orioles earlier are scary, because they have so many infield options as well, and so do the Yankees. I think Peraza can, if you move him, we know Volpe ain't moving. They still have so many infield options. Arias, who they love, I don't think he's going anywhere. Not for Edward Cabrera, he's not going. So, plus he's 2 or 3 years away. I think now's the time to move Peraza while he still might have some value. Because if you put him as a utility player this year and he has like an average season offensively, his value's gone. And he's 24 with a utility role. If he still has some value, you might as well use it now before it becomes Florial and you get an injury-prone an often injured pitcher in Cody Morris for him. Like you could have gotten so much more for Florial if you moved him at the right time. This might be the only time to move Peraza unless you plan on using him. Which again, I just don't see that being the case.
Yeah, look what they did with Oswaldo Cabrera. His value is in the tank. Yeah, he's got to rebuild his value as well. Peraza could. That's why I'm saving Peraza from the Yankees, because we know how the Yankees are. They're going to ride out DJ at third base until his contract's over, and at that point, Arias will be ready. Or Arias, however you pronounce it, and then Peraza is still going to be the odd man out, because they're going to keep screwing up Peraza, because they're not going to know. Then they're going to be going, well, shortstop, second base. They'll move Volpe to second base. They'll screw him up just to plug Peraza at short. It's going to. I just predict, watching the Yankees, the way that we do, you see this. You can see it happening, and I'm saving Peraza from the Yankees. It's for Peraza's protection.
Rob, give me what your move would be, and if it's a trade, include who you're going to give up. Again, in the chat, bring your suggestions in.
Yeah, I'm trading. I'd give them Peraza, Canely, and Narvaez for Cabrera. I think we might even be able to get something back from them, but like a younger arm, like an unknown arm in their system. But I think that's what it's going to take. We have what they need. They have what we need. Sometimes you just have to bite the bullet. And Joan brings up a really good point. Cerna's coming up the system. He's having a really good year out there in the winter leagues. And we also picked up Vivas, who's on the 40-man. He could play second base next year. He's a switch hitter, I believe. So there's options. They have a lot of infielders, and I hate the fact that we'd have to move Peraza, but they haven't treated the kid right. So move him now. Let him go play in Miami every day. He'd probably have a really good season, but I think Edward Cabrera would be really good for us. So need for need. I'm not going to miss Narvaez. We have 5 catchers on the 40-man. You got to move somebody. They're not going to take Rortvet. He's got 0 value. And if we can get rid of Canely's deal for 1 year and use that money to sign a Jordan Hicks, or even if they go get Hader after that, so that kind of lines up. You get a starting pitcher, you get a couple of bullpen arms, and you move on to the spring.
So do you go Hader or Hicks, or do you get both?
I don't think they're going to spend for both. Preferably, I don't want to give any relief pitcher $15 million or more. So I would get Hicks and Stevenson, but I know we need another lefty. But who's out? So maybe you bring back Wandy and Hicks. Cost you a lot less than you would have spent otherwise, and you still improve the team.
You could probably get Wandy and Hicks for the same price as you would pay for Hayden.
You could probably get all 3. You could probably get Stevenson, Hicks, and Wandy for the price it would pay to get Hader. You go that route. There's your super bullpen.
Edward Cabrera, your only starting pitching move?
No. If it's not him, I just sign Montgomery. You know what you're getting.
No, I'm saying if you say, so we're working on the basis that you have traded for Edward Cabrera. Do you add another starter, or you're good with that one?
I mean, they probably still, if they don't do the bullpen stuff, you can get Cabrera. I've been saying this for weeks. You can get Montgomery and Cabrera. Cabrera costs you nothing. So go get both. There you go. That solves your issues right there. See?
There he is.
And if he nailed it, man. He said 7 minutes. That's pretty impressive.
What's going on, Jacob? But
what up, Al?
I think if you had a rotation. Now the thing is, all right, so let's say the rotation now is Cole, Rodon, Cortez, Montgomery,
we'll get you
Cabrera. You still have Schmidt, and you have Warren in the wings. That's 7 starters, and you can never have enough pitching, especially with the way that the Yankees get everybody hurt. Yeah, NFE is a legend, Jason. You're right.
And if he, what's the lottery numbers?
He's got this uncanny ability to know when he's showing up.
Yeah. I think that
if you can give us the lotto numbers, please go ahead and do so, or tell us who the Yankees are getting next and when. Okay, so yeah, he's going right after the LA's going after the hater stuff right away. So, as expected, on brand for him.
I mean, do you think those 7 starters are enough to carry you through a season?
If they're healthy, if Rodon's healthy, I'm not really worried
if.
about the 2, 3, 4 or the 3, 4, 5. To be perfectly honest, if Rodon's healthy, your 1-2 punch is better than a lot of teams in baseball. A lot of teams. And Clark Schmidt has the potential to be a number 3. So does Cabrera. And I still think Nestor has a lot to offer you. I'm hoping, and if he's healthy, I think he can still be a really effective, middle, bottom of the rotation arm. And again, this is what Donald said the other day. This is what I've been saying. The key is Carlos Rodon. Mm-hmm. If he is back to his form and you're paying him a lot of money to be that guy, they can't afford for him to be anything less than the guy they're paying for. If he is back to what he was a couple of seasons ago, a lot of our worries go right out the window. So if he's back to what Go ahead.
No, I was just saying that's why I want 2 starters, because there's the question mark of Rodon's health and Cortez's health, So with those 2 guys, I need at least one person, in the system that I could plug in confidently to help the rotation, and not have to rely on the bullpen and burn them out. That's why there's so many question marks. That's why that's where I started the show saying how we needed to be patient, and now I'm losing my patience because there's so many question marks. I want something done so I can. Yeah, I know.
The most difficult people in the world.
I want to patiently rush through this off season.
My move is it's not creative, but Jordan Montgomery. He's the most reliable. We know what he brings to the table. We know he gives you 2 or 3 stuff in the rotation, and you know he's going to make his start every 5 days, and you know that he can handle New York. That's my move. I know some people will say $27 million a year in that range is an overpay. Well, I hate to break it to you, but there's no such thing as a fair pitching contract once Yamamoto's contract has gone through, because contracts are going to skyrocket, and it's already happened. Look at Montas and Giolito's contract. Their value has now been double or trebled since Yamamoto's contract. So if you sign Montgomery for something like $27 million a year, I disagree with anyone who says it's an overpay, because at least I know that I'm getting someone that can pitch in New York and has won a championship. For me, that's something that shouldn't be overlooked. It's on Cashman for saying that he couldn't pitch in the postseason. That's his fault, but I trust that he's learned his lesson and he's going to bring him back, because I think it's the smartest deal. I really do, because we don't have the pitching that we to give up right now. I want at least 6 months to restock our arms a little bit before making any moves for serious trades for pitchers. Now, minor moves, okay. Like, I still think that Oswaldo Cabrera and Everson Pereira are surplus to requirements right now, because we have a ton of outfielders with Grisham. No one's mentioned Grisham yet, by the way. And I'll tell you one person who was really high on Grisham, Joba Chamberlain. I think it's a brilliant move from the Yankees. So you've also got Verdugo, you've also got Spencer Jones, you've got Dominguez, you got Aaron Judge. There's a ton of outfielders. So yeah, I think those 2 names jump off the bat. And Oswaldo Cabrera isn't just an outfielder; he can play the infield as well. So that could be a match with Miami. He could play infield for Miami. So you could still make a deal with Miami or those two names, or you could go to Chicago White Sox with Dylan Cease. But right now, my thoughts are go with tried and true Jordan Montgomery, and if you sign him for 27. I would say within 12 months, people are going to be like, wow, we got a pretty good deal for Jordan Montgomery because there's going to be some crazy contracts. So that I would go with. And I think you'd probably go with Hicks as our closer. We do need to sign a closer. I think he'd probably be the one to go for. But if we sign Hader, I am not going to be one of those people that's going to be like, oh, no, God, how can we do this? Like, guys, an elite pitcher, an elite closer. He's fantastic. It's just whether he has the makeup for New York, we don't know yet. But his stuff-wise, absolutely. So I'm actually focused more on signings right now, free agents, because we made some serious trades that we probably want to restock our farm a little bit and up their value a little bit before we consider any major trades.
Yeah, no. Look, if they went out and they got Hader, I'm not going to be pissed. He's just not my main option. I'm not looking at him as a savior. I'm sticking by it until you get two more starters. I'm not looking at the bullpen. I don't. Getting the starting pitching depth is my off-season priority.
I gotta jump in on this. People gotta stop with the can they handle New York shit. It's old.
Speaking of old, you know what else is old? Suggesting trading DJ LeMahieu every offseason. That's old.
It's not just old. It's also real. It's real. I'm sorry, LI. It's real. It is real. We can go through it, man. Randy Johnson. Did he work out in New York? He couldn't handle the media in New York. It was too much. We're talking about one of the greatest pitchers of all time, Randy Johnson. And even though he was okay for New York, he wasn't great, and he couldn't stand the media. It's real, man. It's a real thing. And guess who said it? Jabba frickin' Chamberlain, who we interviewed. So, LI, I recommend watching that episode where myself, Jason, and NFE and Maza interviewed Jabba Chamberlain. Great interview. He said it. It's true. He said it. It is a real thing, man. It is a real thing. He thinks that Hader would struggle with New York because of that, but he did say he's got elite stuff, which we all know. It is a real thing, LI. You can't overlook it, man. And Brian Cashman does know better than anyone that it's a real thing. And it's not a bullshit narrative. Joey Gallo isn't the only one. But he's a pretty good example. But there's numerous examples, man. Numerous. You can go through it.
Jason brings up two more. Weaver, Vasquez. You could put Nick Johnson there. Like Esteban Loaiza. How many other big names did they bring in?
AJ Burnett is a great example.
That was another guy that Jabba brought up. I was just going to say Burnett was another one.
But he's a smaller market guy. Kevin Brown, great example.
With Burnett, once he started feeling the pressure, he wasn't himself until he went back to Pittsburgh.
Yep.
New York ate him alive. This is look at us. Look at how we get aggravated with players that aren't even on the roster yet, if they're ever going to be, and how we're all divided. And that guy sucks and this guy sucks. Well,
he just couldn't stay healthy.
Yeah, that was a health thing. I don't think it was a pressure thing.
It's not just the Yankees. Look at the Mets. They signed Scherzer to insane money, and when he was pitching, he wasn't very good last year. Like I know he was hurt too, but he didn't want to come to New York. But the money spoke to him, and I think he regretted it because he wouldn't have accepted that no trade clause or waived it to get moved. So he didn't want New York. Remember that? He kept saying he didn't want to go to New York, and then the Mets said, "Here's $43 million." He's like, "Okay, I'll go to New York." So I
But
think
the
he
thing
regretted
is,
it.
signing for the Mets is different from signing the Yankees because the expectations are different. There is a weight to that pinstripes. The
Yeah,
pinstripes
but
there is
it's
an
still New
added
York.
weight
My
because
point is, it's still New York.
of
The Mets
course,
fans
but
expect a lot from their players too. Like I'm not saying that they're as crazy as we get, but the Mets fans expect a whole lot too. So New
they
York
do.
is still New
What I'm
York.
saying
But
is
it's not
there's
even so much the
even
fans; it's the media.
Yeah, the
there's
New
even
York
added
media.
pressure to wearing the Yankee pinstripes as opposed to the Mets emblem because you're not just representing the current Yankees. You're also wearing this pinstripes that Babe Ruth, Joe DiMaggio, Derek Jeter, Mariano Rivera, Mickey Mantle has worn, and there is uh, an added pressure to that, and it takes a certain makeup in order to succeed. You have to shut it out. Like that's why Derek Jeter was such an incredible player, was that he had this calmness about him in the biggest spots and pressure didn't hit him. But people are different. Pressure hits you in different ways. This is who you are. It's just your makeup. And so this idea that it's not a real thing, it's a very real thing. It's a very, very real thing. And that's why there are people that are quote unquote West Coast guys, and there's quote unquote New York guys. It's just that's just it is. This is the way it is. Your makeup. So it's a real thing. You can overlook it if you want, Li, but it's the truth. But I do appreciate Li jumping in because he's added a debate in the chat and added a little bit of fire this morning. So I do appreciate that, Li.
What's going on, Diver? What's going on, Dev? Thanks for joining in. But I think it's more the media than the fans when it comes to it. You know, when you have the camera in your face for every time that something goes wrong, you're facing you have the fans that are that are screaming at you from their seats. But after the game, those cameras are right in your face. And some guys, they'll either put their foot in their mouth, which makes us even more agitated. The next game that we attend or watch on TV, and it's real. I think it's a very palpable thing. The media, especially in New York, can swallow any athlete in any sport. It's not just a Yankee thing. The New York media is brutal because we make them brutal as fans. One small misstep, and it's like, oh, this guy sucks. And then he'll have a walk-off hit the next day. Oh, this guy's the greatest player that ever played the game. You know, we're so back and forth. It's a fucking seesaw battle.
But isn't media that brutal? Because it was brutal in the 90s. That is for real. When you had guys like really good people on WFAN, like Mike Francesa and the Mad Dog, they would hold people's feet to the fire, right?
Wow.
That doesn't really exist anymore. Like, there's not really any personalities that are going to hold your feet to the fire in the media. Who is it? Like John Heyman and Joel Sherman. Joel Sherman is the only one I can think of, but he's a professional. He asks like smart questions rather than going right at your, right into your midriff. You know what I'm saying? So, the media isn't nearly what it was in the 90s.
Rob, are you laughing at what I'm laughing at?
Yeah. I'm assuming we're laughing at the same thing.
Which one? Wait a minute.
He thinks he can handle the New York media if he was the GM. Is that what you're laughing at?
That's one of them. And then I saw another comment.
No, I don't know. Look, Li, it's great to hype yourself up sometimes, but Jesus Christ, please. No, the media is not anything what it once was, because nowadays you have CUNTs like Sal Licata trying to disrespect New York sports legends. People can handle him easily. He's just a piece of shit. But nowadays, it's not as crazy, but it's still kind of unforgiving, because look at how quickly that even though not a lot of people read newspapers anymore, like when Rodon had his hiccups and a lot of them last year, how quickly was he on the back page? Waste of money or blah, blah, blah. How many times is Stanton on the back page? How many times do people hate Giancarlo Stanton just because, obviously he's gotten hurt a lot, but they hate the guy. But the same thing about New York is you can redeem yourself very quickly. Very quickly. Look at A-Rod. The guy was paid so much money. He had one excellent postseason, won a World Series. Everything was forgiven. Everything was forgiven. The fact that even nowadays, the fact that even after that, he tried to sue the team and he did all that stuff with the suspensions and the cheating and the PEDs. And now he's so pro-Yankee with everything. He's like, oh, I'd rather have 696 in a Yankee uniform than 700 anywhere else. And people are like, I love the guy. I love the guy. They forget everything else because that one good postseason run. So you can redeem yourself so quickly in New York. And I don't think Hader is going to have an issue in New York. I really don't, because one inning, if you're really good for one inning, everyone's going to love you. That's how it is. But it is real. The whole handling New York thing is.
I don't know if it's the cruelty of the media, because that happened like 90s and before 90s, pre-90s. It's the amount of media. There's like 10 times more New York media outlets than there are in Pittsburgh and these other towns, Kansas and things like that. That's a real thing, because after a game, your locker room will be absolutely crowded with media people. But if you're in Kansas, there's like 2 or 3 hanging around, right? So that's the big difference, rather than like the treatment necessarily, but certainly the interest.
Yeah, and you can't tell me that. I mean, if Hader comes, if they say they sign Hader, it's opening day at the stadium, and he blows the save. You telling me that the media and the fans are not going to tear him apart? Of course we are. You ruined the home opener. You cost us the game. You asked for all this money and you couldn't handle it. The first game in New York, you folded like a cheap suit. That's going to be the headline. He can have 50 saves after that. But 50 saves after that, we're still going to be talking about how we ruined opening day.
Yep. That's what it is. That's what gets to people. Because it's like he can go, like you just said, he can blow opening day and then go 50 for 50. He could be 50 for 51 on the season, have an ERA of like 1.2, and everyone's going to be like, yeah, but you could have been 51 or 51. You missed that one. Remember on opening day when you screwed us? You could have had one more win, especially if that one win cost you a division or something, or like a home field advantage. Could you imagine? New York would, they'd eat him alive. So they would do it. And Hader can easily handle New York. Well, you don't know that. I think he can.
Well, Eli, you just said that this whole handle New York thing doesn't exist. And now you're saying, oh, Hader and Bauer can handle it. So which one is it? So now you're actually saying that there's actually some credence to what we're saying about handling New York.
The flip-flopper.
He just said
You'd be a good politician, Eli.
I know. And I'd be a very good lawyer, because I just went right through your freaking argument in a minute there. 10 minutes ago, Eli, you said this whole handling New York thing isn't real. And now you're saying, oh, but Hader can handle New York. Well, which one is it?
That's a question you've been asking Eli for years. Which one is it? Do you want to keep the prospects or trade the prospects? You want a dynasty that we whiffed on, or do you want to make 12 different trades to make the team a dynasty that you said you overreacted about? So which one is it, Eli? Go ahead. Tell us which one is it. Here we go again, end of the show, and we're once again going after Eli Yankee King because he just keeps giving us reasons to. Like the Energizer
I
Bunny.
appreciate it, because it makes our show more.
He keeps us up. We're gonna have to pay him.
Keep on coming in, Eli.
We do love the conversation, but it is like it's like an episode of Monday Night Raw that ends on a brawl at the end of the show. This is it. Here we go. What's gonna happen next week when Eli Yankee King shows up?
It's a thing. Sometimes, for some situations, it's more dramatic than others. But you can't say that there are players that don't fall under the pressure. It happens all the time, and it's not just with the Yankees. It's not that's sports in general.
He flopped again back to his original statement. No, but I will say this, Melo, since just Chapman handled New York just fine. He came back. Like he got traded and then re-signed. And he was really good. Let's not forget that. 2016, 17. It wasn't until like 2020.
It was the second the extension.
Once that extension happened, he really fell apart for like a 2-3 week span. Then he was just unusable. He handled New York just fine. Mm-hmm. He was really good. The guy, when he was at his best, you couldn't hit him. Remember when we had Betances, Miller, and Chapman in 2016?
Mm-hmm.
That was brutal.
That was a super bullpen, and guess what happened that year? He didn't make the playoffs. I mean, I don't know. But he came back. That's my point. Is he came back, so he handled it just fine. He wouldn't have come back if he couldn't handle New York.
The Cubs broke his arm. The Cubs absolutely broke his arm in winning a World Series, and he was never the same since.
No, when he first came back, he was legit. But when they gave him the extension, that's when he fell off. And it sucks too because he was so good.
He didn't get traded.
Chapman was an ex.
He got traded in 2016, Melo, but he came back after he got traded. That's my point. Is he got traded and came back. So he obviously would not have done that. He did when he went to Kansas City. He was a free agent. We didn't trade him to Kansas City.
You can never have too many tattoos, Joe.
He must have regretted that mommy tattoo in his ass.
The one that gave him an infection.
Yeah, that's what I'm referring to.
That's just wrong. Let's see what other. Let's.
He's not listening because
I think he just checked out.
Yeah.
Well, the thing that happened with Chapman was he lost his advantage on a competitive level because when he first came out, nobody was hitting the radar gun like he was. Now everybody's hitting triple digits. There was no surprise. There was no surprise to him anymore. Everybody's catching up to. That was the decline. He was trying to keep up with throwing the 100 and never adjusted his game when he couldn't hit that anymore.
Yeah, because he was a thrower, not a pitcher. He didn't
exactly.
It's all brawn for him. I think we should give a shout out to y'all in the chat before we sign off. Let's have a look and see the new people in the chat. Obviously, we discussed LI. FL Diver, salute. How are you? Mello, really appreciate you sticking with us. Got Joan, got NFE, got Medina, got Stevie B, we got Jonathan, we got Dev Finch. Jeff Finch is always loyal. Big salute. Happy New Year when it comes. We've got Chris Northrup. Everybody watch the Upper Deck on Sundays. We really appreciate everyone that sticks with us every day. Got Frank Rivera, seen him in the chat. We got Rob's dad, even though you came up with that crazy trade for someone who's a free agent, but we are not gonna look into that too much. I'm sure Rob will rip any of that off screen. Anybody else? Yeah, so much people. Got like 40 people in the chat. So anyway, I just want to say Happy New Year to y'all. You guys are awesome.
Well, we also talked a lot about the pen, and I just want to shout out real quick, Donald. You've been using your pen to write for Last Word on Sports. So make sure. What's the actual website for the Last Word?
Oh, yeah, it's a lastwordonsports.com, and it's the baseball section. Last Word on Sports baseball.
And also InsideTheDiamonds.com. Chris Northrup from the Upper Deck is a writing contributor on that site as well. So make sure you check out those two websites. Catch up on some reading. So those are two great pens that are putting great words to use. So check
do
out
have an
those two
update
sites.
here.
Go ahead.
There's a bit of an update from Talking Yanks. Jeff Passan put out an article. The Yankees would love a reunion with Montgomery. He mentioned in regards to free agents Imanaga, Josh Hader, and more. He adds that Jesus Luzardo is the most valuable Marlins trade candidate and suggested the Yankees are interested. So the Yankees have interest, and also Eli Manning. They talked about him a lot, not being able to handle New York, and look what he did there. So once again, your whole entire argument has just been proven wrong. Again, I win. Checkmate.
Lozano wouldn't be a bad option. He was brought. He's been brought up here and there.
He's better than Cabrera in terms of numbers.
Yeah.
I just think he's going to cost you more. That's
the price goes up. Yeah.
I'd take Luzardo in a heartbeat. Trust me. He's good. He is really good.
Facts.
Yeah, but I'm saying LI is during the draft, when they traded for him, all the question was, well, he didn't want San Diego. What thing's going to happen to him in New York? And he handled it just fine. So you're saying that never happens with the Giants. It did happen. It happens with New York teams. It just happens with the Yankees more because, as Donald mentioned, if you were paying attention, he said there's so much more expectation with the Yankees because of the history. So, Again, checkmate.
We're gonna end it on that. We do want to thank everybody. Oh, and very, very big shout out to Mello. I just got the notification he has subscribed to our channel. So thanks for the subscribe. Appreciate you. Hope you enjoyed the show. But if you haven't already,
I'll
hit
put
that
my
like
article
button.
in the chat. I've got my article here.
Yeah, throw the link down
the
there.
Yankees pivot after the Yamamoto snub. I wrote that a week or two ago. We'll hit that. Put that in the chat. You guys have something to read in your spare time. There you go.
And definitely check that out. Also, InsideTheDiamonds.com for Chris Northrup. But we all met as writers, so I can vouch for Donald and Chris. You will not be disappointed with their articles. I promise you that. But if you haven't already, share this out. Tell your friends. Tell your neighbor. Tell the stranger around the corner. This has been the Pinstripe Chronicles. We will be back Friday morning at 10 a.m. So, as always, wear your pinstripes of pride and play hard.
Happy New Year.